We're diving into a tough one today.
Yeah.
The story of the Caffey family murders.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get started,
Yeah.
just a reminder that we've got some support resources linked
Okay.
in the show notes,
Good idea.
in case you need them.
It's important to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Especially with heavy topics.
For sure.
Like this one.
Okay, so picture rural Texas,
Okay.
secluded private road
Yeah.
leading to just 2 properties.
Wow. Isolated.
Yeah, surrounded by dense woodland
Oh.
and tall pines.
So secluded.
The Caffey family home was pretty isolated.
Yeah.
And that isolation makes the scene, investigators found,
Right.
all the more chilling.
Yeah.
The charred remains of their home,
Oh my gosh.
guarded by their loyal dog, Max.
It's a haunting image.
Yeah.
And it really sets the stage for the story we're about to unpack.
Right.
The contrast between the peaceful setting
Yeah.
and the sheer brutality of what happened there
Yeah.
is truly jarring.
Right.
It's hard to imagine. Such a horrific crime happening to a family.
Well, and you've got the Caffey family themselves.
Okay.
Terry, Penny,
Uh-huh.
and their 3 kids.
Okay.
Aaron, 16,
Okay.
Matthew, 13,
Uh-huh.
and Tyler, 8.
Wow.
They seem to have it all.
Right.
Close-knit,
Yeah.
deeply religious,
Yeah.
well-respected in their community.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine
Right.
that contrast is one of the things
Yeah.
that makes this case so disturbing.
Right.
It shatters the illusion
Yeah.
that these kinds of tragedies only happen to certain types of families
Yeah.
in certain types of places.
So it's February 29th, 2008.
Okay.
A seemingly normal Friday night.
Uh-huh.
Terry comes home,
Yeah.
jokes around with his sons,
Wow.
and everyone heads to bed.
Okay.
Around midnight, their dog Max starts barking.
Oh, no.
But Terry figures it's just an animal.
Yeah.
He goes back to sleep.
Oh, gosh.
And then a few hours later,
Right.
everything changes.
It's a stark reminder. That violence can erupt
For sure.
in the most unexpected moments,
Absolutely.
shattering the normalcy of everyday life.
Terry is suddenly jolted awake by gunshots.
Oh, my gosh.
He hears Penny scream,
Oh.
and then a figure appears in their bedroom doorway.
Oh, wow.
Gun pointed at Penny.
Oh, my God.
Terry tries to shield her,
Oh, no.
gets shot 5 times.
Oh, my gosh.
And pretends to be dead,
Oh, wow.
while the intruders ransack their house.
Can you imagine the terror of those moments?
Oh, it's unimaginable.
To be awoken in the dead of night by such violence.
I know.
To witness your loved ones being attacked.
Horrible.
It's a scenario that would test anyone's courage and resilience.
Absolutely. And as if that wasn't horrific enough,
Oh, no.
Terry then hears his son screaming from upstairs.
Oh, gosh.
More gunshots.
Oh, no.
And then silence.
It's a chilling detail that speaks volumes
Oh, yeah.
about the level of violence unleashed that night.
It does.
Somehow, though,
Right.
Harry manages to escape.
Through a bathroom window.
Oh,
He crawls through the woods,
God.
desperately seeking help,
Uh-huh.
finally reaching his neighbor's house 400 yards away.
His escape is remarkable.
Unbelievable.
Severely wounded.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night.
Right.
Terry's sheer will to survive
Incredible.
is incredible.
Yeah.
And amidst the chaos and pain,
Right.
he manages to tell the police something
Uh-huh.
that immediately steers their investigation
Okay.
in a specific direction.
He remembers hearing his son Matthew's words during the attack.
Oh, wow.
Charlie, why are you doing this? No. Charlie, no.
Oh, my.
Charlie Wilkinson
Yeah.
was Aaron's recent ex-boyfriend.
So the police have what seems like an obvious suspect.
Right. It seems like a classic case of a vengeful ex-boyfriend
Yeah.
lashing out.
But as we often see
Yeah.
in these types of cases, things are rarely that simple.
And that's where this story takes a truly bizarre turn.
Okay.
While firefighters are battling the blaze
Oh, wow.
that engulfed the Caffey home, investigators are sifting through the debris,
Uh-huh.
searching for the remains of the family.
Right.
They find 3 bodies,
Okay.
but one is missing.
And that missing person
Right.
turns out to be Erin Caffey.
What?
She's found alive and well
No way.
in the trailer of one of the suspects.
Hold on. So the daughter everyone thought was dead
Yeah.
is found hanging out with the guy they think is responsible
Right.
for the attack. How is that even possible?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's what makes this case so perplexing.
For sure.
The discovery of Erin alive
Yeah.
throws everything into question
Absolutely.
and sets the stage for a tangled web
Yeah,
of
right.
conflicting narratives.
Because from this point on,
Yeah.
everyone involved seems to have a different story.
Oh, wow.
Erin claims she was drugged and kidnapped.
Okay.
A victim forced to witness the horrific events.
Uh-huh.
But Charlie Wilkinson,
Right?
along with his friends Charles Wade and Bobby Johnson,
Okay.
paint a very different picture.
They claim she wasn't just a willing participant,
Wow.
but the mastermind behind the whole plot.
Oh my gosh.
They say Erin orchestrated the murders of her own family.
Okay, now that is truly mind-blowing.
Right.
A teenage girl manipulating 3 guys to kill her family.
Yeah.
What could possibly drive someone to do something like that?
That's the question that investigators
Yeah.
and everyone following this case
Yeah.
was struggling to answer.
Okay.
So let's look at the evidence the prosecution presented
Yeah.
and see what conclusions we can draw. The prosecution's case against Erin
Right.
hinged on a few key pieces of evidence.
Okay.
First, they presented Erin's phone records,
Uh-huh.
which showed repeated calls to Charlie
Oh, wow.
the night of the murder.
Okay, so those phone calls
Yeah.
definitely place them in communication.
Right.
But do they really prove
Well,
that Erin was involved in the planning or the execution of the murders?
that's a good point.
Right.
Phone records alone
Right.
don't establish motive or intent.
Exactly.
The prosecution also relied heavily
Mhm.
on the testimonies of Charlie's friends,
Okay.
who claimed Erin had been talking about wanting her parents dead
Wow.
for weeks.
That's a pretty serious accusation.
It is.
But we have to remember,
Right.
these testimonies are coming from people
Yeah.
who are also implicated in the murders.
That's true.
Could they be exaggerating Erin's role
Yeah.
to deflect blame from themselves?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's important to consider the motivations
Right.
of anyone providing testimony,
For sure.
especially in a case like this,
Yeah.
where multiple people are involved
Right.
and potentially trying to minimize
Right.
their own culpability.
There's also that one detail about Erin's clothes.
Okay.
That always struck me as odd.
Okay.
Remember when she was found?
Yeah.
She was wearing the same clothes she had on the night of the attack,
Right.
but they didn't smell of smoke,
Oh,
even though she claimed to have been present
right.
when the house was set on fire.
Ugh. That detail was definitely a point of contention.
For sure.
The prosecution argued that if
Mhm.
Erin had truly been in the house during the fire,
Right.
as she claimed,
Yeah.
her clothes should have absorbed some of that smoky odor.
Of course.
They used this to support their theory
Yeah.
that she was never inside the burning house at all.
The lack of smoke on her clothing
Yeah.
certainly raises questions.
It does.
And yet you have Terry,
Right.
the one person who witnessed the horrors of that night firsthand,
Yeah.
the sole survivor of this unthinkable tragedy.
Yeah.
And he remains steadfast in his belief
Wow.
that his daughter is innocent.
Terry's unwavering faith in Erin
Yeah.
is a remarkable element of this case.
Right.
It defies logic
Yeah.
in the face of mounting evidence against her.
It really does.
While she was in juvenile detention,
Mm-hmm.
he wrote her letters
Yeah.
filled with love and support.
That's amazing.
He visited her regularly, constantly advocating for her well-being.
His actions are incredibly moving,
Yeah.
especially considering what he went through that night.
Right. Yeah.
It really makes you wonder,
Yeah.
is his belief in Erin's innocence rooted
Right.
in an unshakable fatherly love?
Yeah.
Or is it a form of denial,
Yeah.
a way to protect himself
Right.
from the unbearable truth?
It's a difficult question to answer.
It is.
And ultimately, it's a question only Terry can answer.
That's true.
But let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about how the trials played out
Yeah.
for those involved.
Okay.
It was a complex legal process
Mm-hmm.
with separate trials for each of the accused.
Okay.
Bobby Johnson,
Right.
who was considered less culpable in the murders,
Yeah.
ended up receiving a 40-year sentence.
Okay, so Bobby,
Yeah,
the one who seemed less involved in the planning,
right.
got 40 years.
Uh-huh.
What about Erin? Did she face trial?
She did.
Okay.
But before going to trial, she decided to take a plea deal.
Okay.
By accepting the plea deal,
Right.
she avoided the possibility of receiving a life sentence without parole.
Right.
Instead, she was sentenced to 2 life sentences,
Okay.
but with the possibility of parole.
So there's at least a chance
Right.
she could be released someday.
Right.
What about Charlie Wilkinson and Charles Wade,
Okay.
the ones who actually carried out the attack?
Right.
What were their sentences?
Both Charlie and Charles
Okay.
were ultimately sentenced to life in prison
Wow.
without the possibility of parole.
I remember reading that Terry
Yeah.
initially wanted the death penalty for everyone involved, but he later changed his stance
Okay.
and urged the court to take the death penalty off the table.
Oh, wow.
His decision ultimately shaped the sentencing for Charlie and Charles.
Terry's decision to advocate for life sentences instead of the death penalty is a profound example of forgiveness.
Absolutely.
In the face of unimaginable loss. He believed that seeking retribution through the death penalty wouldn't bring back his family. And he saw more value in allowing the possibility for rehabilitation and repentance.
It's an incredibly powerful statement about his character and his faith.
It is.
But even with the trials concluding and the perpetrator's sentence, this case still leaves us with more questions than answers.
Definitely.
The contrasting narratives, the ambiguities surrounding Aaron's level of involvement, Terry's unwavering belief in his daughter, despite the accusations against her.
It's a case that leaves you grappling.
It really does.
With uncertainty and pondering the complexities of human nature.
And at the center of all this is Terry Caffey. His story is one of unimaginable loss and trauma.
Absolutely.
Not only did he lose his entire family in a horrifically violent way, but he was then forced to confront the possibility that his own daughter was involved.
His journey, both physical and emotional, is incredibly challenging to comprehend.
It is.
To have survived such a traumatic event, to have lost everything and everyone dear to him, and to then face the accusations leveled against his daughter.
It's unbelievable.
It's a burden few could bear.
It's a story that stays with you.
It is.
But what I find particularly intriguing is how Terry's perspective seems to shift over time. Initially, he was consumed by grief and anger, demanding the death penalty for those responsible. Yet gradually, his stand evolved into one of forgiveness and a belief in rehabilitation.
That evolution is fascinating.
It is.
It speaks to the power of forgiveness as a coping mechanism and the complexities of navigating grief and trauma.
For sure.
Terry's journey highlights the different ways people process loss. And search for meaning in the aftermath of tragedy.
Because let's be honest, the idea of a 16-year-old girl masterminding the murder of her family is incredibly disturbing.
It is.
It challenges our fundamental understanding of family dynamics and what drives someone to commit such a horrific act.
It raises uncomfortable questions.
It does.
About the nature of good and evil. What could possibly lead someone so young, seemingly integrated into a loving family and community, to engage in such violence? Was it a calculated act of rebellion, a desperate cry for freedom, or something else entirely?
It's interesting that you bring up rebellion and freedom.
Yeah.
Remember Aaron's ex-boyfriend, Michael Washburn, the one she dated before Charlie?
Right.
Her parents weren't too happy about that relationship either.
Okay.
And they asked her to end it.
Right. And his testimony adds an intriguing layer to our understanding of Aaron.
Okay.
He claimed that Aaron had confided in him about wanting to hire someone to kill her parents.
Wow.
Because they kept interfering in her relationships.
That's a pretty shocking claim.
It is.
If it's true,
it
certainly suggests a level of frustration and resentment towards her parents. It also fits with that narrative of rebellion you mentioned earlier. Was she feeling trapped, controlled, and desperate for a way out?
It's possible. Perhaps she saw eliminating her family as the only way to break free from the constraints of her upbringing and pursue the life she wanted.
It's a dark and disturbing thought.
It is.
But one that warrants consideration. And then you have the statements from Charlie. Charles and Bobby. Who claimed that Aaron didn't just want her parents dead. They said she also wanted her younger brothers.
Oh my gosh.
Matthew and Tyler gone.
Oh no.
Their reasoning. Matthew, because he would talk.
Oh gosh.
And Tyler, well, simply because she didn't like him.
If true, those statements suggest a level of premeditation and callousness that's difficult to grasp to not only target your parents, but also your own siblings.
It's unbelievable.
It's a level of cruelty that challenges the very notion of familial bonds.
But again, we have to consider the source of these claims. Are they accurate representations of what Aaron wanted? Or are Charles and Bobby trying to downplay their own roles by exaggerating Aaron's.
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure.
What about that Father's Day letter Aaron sent to Terry from juvenile detention? It was full of expressions of love and remorse.
Oh, wow.
She claimed she tried to stop the attack, but that thing spiraled out of control.
That letter is a fascinating piece of the puzzle. On one hand, it could be seen as a genuine expression of regret and a desperate attempt to regain her father's love and support. But on the other hand, it could also be interpreted as a manipulative tactic, a way to exploit her father's emotional vulnerability and sway his perception of her.
It's hard to know for sure, especially given everything else we know about the case. But it's clear that Aaron understood her father's emotional needs. She positioned herself as a victim, expressing regret for what happened and reaffirming her love for him. It makes you wonder if she was intentionally playing on his emotions.
That's certainly a possibility. And if that's the case, it adds another layer of complexity to her character. Remember the mental health evaluation
Aaron underwent while in juvenile detention. The counselor who evaluated her, Israel Lewis, described her as a masterful liar.
Wow.
Capable of manipulating even the most seasoned professional.
Masterful liar. That's quite the assessment.
It is.
Does that suggest she might have been feigning remorse in that letter to her father?
It's definitely something to consider. If Aaron is as manipulative as the counselor suggests, then it's plausible that the letter was a calculated tactic to gain her father's sympathy and influence his perception of her role in the murders.
This case is a real head-scratcher.
It is.
It's like we're seeing two versions of Aaron. The manipulative mastermind described by those involved in the crime and the remorseful daughter seeking forgiveness from her father.
That duality is at the core of this case's enduring fascination.
It forces us to ask ourselves, can someone be both a victim and a perpetrator?
It's a good question.
Is it possible for someone capable of such calculated violence to also possess genuine empathy and remorse?
It's a question without easy answers.
It is.
But there's another layer to this story that I find particularly intriguing. The role of faith. The Caffey family was deeply religious. Terry even felt a calling to become a minister.
Oh, wow.
I wonder how their faith influenced their choices, both during and after the tragedy.
That's an excellent question. Faith often plays a significant role in how people cope with trauma and make sense of the unthinkable.
Absolutely.
In Terry's case, his unwavering belief in God seems to have provided him with a framework for understanding this horrific event. He viewed his own survival as a sign, a divine intervention that gave him a purpose to fulfill.
And that purpose became forgiveness. Not just forgiveness for those who committed the crime, but also forgiveness for his daughter.
It's as if he found solace in a higher power. A way to reconcile the darkness of what happened with his belief system. But it also raises the question, does such profound forgiveness, especially when offered to someone who may not deserve it, come at the cost of true justice?
That's a tough question.
It is.
It forces us to grapple with the complexities of forgiveness and the balance between mercy and accountability. Some might argue that true justice demands punishment, commensurate with the crime, while others see forgiveness as a necessary step towards healing and redemption.
And in Terry's case, forgiveness became intertwined with his unwavering love for his daughter. He desperately wanted to believe in her capacity for change, even when others had given up on her. Whether that belief is justified or not, it's what helped him navigate his grief and find a way to move forward.
His story is a powerful testament to the enduring bonds of family and the complexities of faith in the face of adversity.
It also reminds us that truth can be elusive.
Absolutely.
Often obscured by conflicting narratives and subjective interpretations. What we perceive as truth is often shaped by our own experiences, biases, and beliefs.
This whole story is so incredibly complex.
It is.
There's so many layers. So many unanswered questions. But I think that's part of what makes it so compelling.
You're right.
It forces us to confront
Yeah.
the dark side of human nature.
Absolutely.
And to grapple with the uncomfortable truths that lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary lives.
It challenges us to examine our own beliefs about family.
Justice and forgiveness.
And ultimately, it leaves us with more questions than answers, prompting us to reflect on the human capacity for both immense love and unimaginable darkness. And even with all the evidence presented at trial, with the convictions secured, we still don't have a clear picture of what happened inside that house. On February 29th, 2008, we're left piecing together fragments of information, trying to reconcile conflating narratives and make sense of the unimaginable.
And I think that's what draws so many people to cases like this.
Absolutely.
The mystery.
Yeah.
The unanswered questions.
Right.
The challenge of trying to understand the motivations behind such horrific acts.
I know we've touched on this a bit already.
Yeah.
But I'd love to dig a little deeper into Aaron's psychology.
Okay.
What could possibly drive a teenager to not only participate in...
but potentially orchestrate the murders of their own family?
Well, it's important to remember that adolescent brains are still developing, especially the parts responsible for impulse control, decision-making, and understanding the long-term consequences of their actions. Teenagers are also more susceptible to peer pressure and can be easily influenced by those they see as authority figures.
So in Aaron's case, is it possible that she was so caught up in her relationship with Charlie, so desperate for his approval, that she was willing to do anything to please him? Even if it meant harming her own family.
It's certainly a possibility. Toxic relationships can have a powerful hold on people.
I know.
Especially teenagers who are still figuring out their own identities and boundaries.
That makes sense.
Aaron may have been vulnerable to manipulation, and Charlie might have exploited that vulnerability to achieve his own ends.
And if we consider the testimony of her previous ex-boyfriend, Michael, who claimed Aaron had talked about wanting her parents dead, it suggests that this wasn't just a sudden impulsive act. There may have been a history of resentment and anger building up inside her.
We have to consider the possibility that Aaron's resentment towards her parents, particularly their control over her relationships, played a significant role in her actions. Perhaps she felt trapped and saw violence as the only way to escape the confines of her family life.
It's a chilling thought.
It is.
But it helps to explain why she might have been receptive to Charlie's influence and potentially involved in the planning of the murders. But what about her brothers? If what Charlie and his friends said is true, that Aaron wanted them dead too. That takes things to a whole other level.
That's where things get really difficult to comprehend. The idea of a teenager plotting to kill her own siblings,
it's unbelievable,
particularly a younger brother, is almost beyond comprehension.
It is.
It challenges our fundamental understanding of family bonds.
For sure.
And the instinct to protect those we're closest to.
It makes you wonder if there were other underlying psychological factors at play. Was there a history of abuse or neglect within the family? Could there have been undiagnosed mental health issues contributing to her actions?
Those are important questions. And unfortunately, we may never have definitive answers.
That's true.
It's possible that there were other contributing factors that we're not aware of. Things that happened behind closed doors that influenced Aaron's state of mind and fueled her anger and resentment.
And without access to her personal history, her psychological evaluations, and a deeper understanding of her relationships with each family member, it's difficult to say for certain what ultimately led her down this dark path.
Absolutely.
We're left with speculation
and
the chilling reality that sometimes the human heart is capable of darkness. That defies explanation.
This case really emphasizes the complexities of human behavior and the challenges of understanding the motivations behind such horrific acts, there's no easy explanation. No single answer that can fully account for the tragedy that unfolded that night.
And I think that's an important takeaway. For anyone who follows true crime, we have to resist the urge to simplify these cases, to neatly categorize people as good or evil victims or perpetrators. The reality is often far more nuanced and messy.
It's about acknowledging the gray areas, the complexities of human nature, and the fact that sometimes there are no easy answers.
Exactly.
And I think that's what makes these stories so compelling. Even though they're incredibly difficult to grapple with, they force us to confront the darker aspects of humanity and to question our own assumptions about the world around us.
I think you hit the nail on the head. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the Caffey family murders, I'm left with a profound sense of sadness. Not just for the victims, but for the ripple effect of this tragedy on everyone involved.
It's a stark reminder that violence leaves lasting scars.
Yeah, it does.
Not just on individuals, but on entire communities.
It does.
And it reminds us of the importance of seeking help when we're struggling, of supporting those who have experienced trauma, and of fostering environments where healthy relationships, open communication can thrive.
So important.
Perhaps by understanding these complex cases, we can learn valuable lessons about human behavior and work towards preventing similar tragedies in the future.
So much to think about. So much to learn.
It is a tough one.
If this case resonates with you in any way, please reach out for support.
Absolutely.
We've got those resources linked in the show notes.
And if you're interested in exploring other cases that challenge our understanding of the human psyche, we've got a whole library of deep dives waiting for you.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.